that's like, I see these things on cars out here, and it always shocks to me. Stand with the blue lives matter. It's sort of like, the key front in this country for civil rights is not police officers. Police officers are actually, it's a relatively safe profession. They're paid very well, and there is no such thing as a blue life. And then you see some of the things that police officers do, and you're just kind of like, wow. I mean, like, I don't even want to talk about it in this class, but like this session, but you see some of the things you do, and you're like, whoa. But there's this identity thing that happens where people who are right wing or right leaning will signal their affiliation with that worldview or that ideology with things like Blue Lives Matter or Back the Blue, right? It's not so much that they are concerned with the safety of police officers. We know that because when police officers were assaulted and one was killed in Washington D.C., the right wing was basically like whatever. It's rather that it signals an identity, a political identity or regional, national identity about how to understand the controversies that are, dominating our politics. Which is to say, they always back the police. The police are always right. It's never, even when they shoot somebody in the back who's running away, it's that they were fearing for their safety and they're right, and so it becomes sort of this political tactic that can really rationalize a lot of scary and toxic policies. The last tactic that our author discusses is called contra populum, which is to say presidents argue against the people. And that's the George Bush example I talked about earlier, is that they say, look, I recognize your view, you're just wrong, right? And they do it in subtle ways. I mean, the Bush's thing, and it's also classic when it comes to national or it comes to foreign policy, is to always raise the specter of security, right? Like, I understand, but we need to be safe, and I have to keep you safe. That's my duty. That's my job. So you're wrong. And they the thing about the president as well is, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is that they always have like secret intel, or at least they think, we believe they have secret intel. And so it's like, oh, you should trust me because I'm keeping you safe. And wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I have all the secret information about the risks that you're facing, and you just need to trust that I'm making the right choice for you, right? And that's bipartisan. That's not partisan. I mean, that was one of the things about Hillary Clinton that really bothered me, was that she was gung ho about destabilizing the wider Middle East because of the supposedly the security benefits that would bring to the United States, and jeopardizing the lives of millions of people over there to keep the lives of people over here safe. I mean, it's a very uncomfortable sort of equation to try to balance. Anyway, the point is that politicians will use public opinion as a way to argue against the views of the people and rationalize policy anyway. Okay. Final question. More coffee. I do like the coffee. Final question. Does public opinion drive politics? This is the big question. And it's the big question because we really don't know. I put maybe, a qualified maybe. The classic political assessment is this. Publics have to pressure politicians like the president to act. If they want something, they have to put pressure on that person. And that story is told again and again because the story of Lyndon Johnson telling Martin Luther King when they met in the Oval Office, if you want civil rights legislation to pass for Black Americans, you have to pressure me to do it. You have to get people out there protesting on the street and pressuring me to do it. And then he did it. Well, I don't know if that's like an accurate story. And I don't know if folks have, put it this way: historians write it one way, and political scientists and political communication scholars write it another way. And there maybe it's sort of true, but even if that is true, it's not. It doesn't seem to be what's happening now. And the contemporary example of this is that both Schumer and Warren, the top two senators from the Democratic side right now, both have more aggressive policies about student loan debt than Joe Biden does. And the political call after Biden gave his statement at the town hall the other day from Schumer and Warren was, we have to pressure Biden to do this. And it's kind of like we're repeating the same thing, where the notion is that if the people want something, they're going to push the president to do it, and then the president will do it. And that's the problematic part, is that we have lots of examples of when presidents or other politicians don't do the thing that the people supposedly want. And so that's why I say it's a maybe. It's qualified maybe. Maybe it works in some instances, and maybe it's situational or contextual. And so it may be that, some politicians are basically more susceptible to pressure than others. I mean, politicians, what do they want? They want to win re-election. That's the number one thing every politician wants, is to win re-election. So it may be, if there's an election, if it's close, if there's, you can make an argument explaining why this thing will help them to win re-election. That might be something that helps. But another possibility is that some forms of pressure may be more effective than others. And that can be about who's applying the pressure and what type of pressure, right? Politicians are particularly vulnerable to financial pressure, donations, things like that. And they're also tend to be vulnerable to pressure from more organized groups rather than just broad mass publics. Okay, we're going to stop there. That's gone on long enough, and I will be speaking with you soon.